Let's see what's popping up. Let's see who new wants to come in. Let me... Yo, what's up? Welcome in. Welcome in. How are we doing? Welcome in, welcome in. What are who bought? Myself? I'm doing well. I'm just finishing up the book and also waiting for... There we go. Right when I was about to say it. Not waiting on nothing no more. We're just working on the book. I'm working on a book actively while this live is going on as well. I was gonna go live anyway, and I'm still working on this, so I might as well just multitask. So I got that in the bag. What's the book? It's on the ego. It's about the ego, how it works, the rational mind and the intuitive mind, how to get the rational mind to listen to the intuitive mind, and how to get the intuitive mind to be overstood by the rational mind and not overbearing, and also how to hear and listen to the rational mind yourself. Not many people know or talk about this type of stuff, which is really important, especially if you are on some form of spiritual journey. Where is the chat? Why is it not letting me do this the way that I'm wanting to? Of course, part 1 is already out. If you are interested in it, all books I have are just $15. You just email me and ask me about the books, and I can send you all the ones that I have so far. I got 2 made on duality. I have one that I already wrote about life, but it was in a different theme than this. I have one that's just a channeled book, and another one about self-love, and how to accept love from others and all that stuff as well, if those are interests. With the emails and the pinned message, if you feel like hitting me up and asking me about it, I can send you a list of those and the other services and whatnot, and we can get something moving. I mean, that's cool, I guess. Of course, no worries. I enjoy going live. I enjoy working on things like this. Sacred geometry. Sacred geometry is cool to look at. I haven't done too much looking into sacred geometry, like study wise, but I've definitely had my journey with it. No Western Union? Word. That's alright. The Chime isn't, should be the same thing, because Western Union is also just a bank for that. So the Chime might be able to work for that if you're trying to send donation that way. If not, I mean, I don't really know how else to do. That's the only way I have for donations. Every other way just is not an option, unfortunately. But I've been trying to figure out a solution for that as well. In the background, there's just a few obstacles in the path that I got to figure out first. Um, but we're working through it. It's a work in progress. Walk of life. Just a walk of life. How we doing? What's some questions? What's some topics that we can converse about? Proverse about, I should truly say. Not converse, but proverse. Get money from YouTube. That's funny. Barely. They don't pray me. They don't promote me. They shadow ban me, and then like when I tell them about it, they just shin me off and then boost my views for like 2 hours and then put it back to normal. Yeah, the wall behind me is pretty cool. It's like a barn with the sunset at this motel I'm at. But nah, YouTube don't pay me. They block me. They keep me away from getting messages out to people because what I don't do is tell people lies. I don't gratify the ego, so they don't let me go out there and strut my stuff no more. Welcome in, welcome in. We're good. We're busy just multitasking. Writing the book, finishing up the book, and streaming. Talking to y'all. Yeah, I mean, honestly, YouTube pay is like awful. I'm not even gonna lie about that. It's not even enough to stay afloat. It used to be, but then whenever I started digging down and getting truth out and talking about things that truly mattered about what spirituality is and all these other things, they immediately started putting the hammer on me. Immediately, it was like comical. And I go on TikTok, I go on Instagram, same things there. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a damn about it. They're like, no, if you're not keeping people blind, we're not gonna let you like get any money whatsoever, despite even putting in complaints. What about donations? Barely get donations. I haven't got many donations at all, despite all the stuff I do. Genuinely, people might think I do. I get barely any at all. It's whatever, you know. I don't do it for the money regardless. The money just kind of keeps me afloat. It makes things come out quicker. Other than that, I'm just kind of doing what I desire to do, you know, learn, spread knowledge, and keep moving. It's just how it is, though. Ain't no complaint. We making it. We swimming through it. And can't have ups without a few downs, you know what I mean? Donations to the channel, though, I don't get those till like the end of the month and stuff of that. And stuff for that. The tarot series, yeah, I got tarot classes too. It talks about the depths of what tarot are, because tarot is really just a psychology of life. Tarot cards is just like the relationship between you and yourself, between you and the external reality. A lot of these readers today will say that it's someone doing something to you, and that's not the case, because it's you doing it to yourself. If you get mad because I say that background's ugly and you like it and you get defensive over it, it's not because of what I said, it's because of your own attachment to that thing and you feeling that it's hurt due to a thought pattern that you have on you. Not many readers can think that deep on it. I don't know why. I mean, it's not that hard to. It's not hard to see. I mean, like, I can pull it out and show you in multiple different cards how it's really just you and you. That's why there's a man and a woman on basically every card. It's you and yourself. Your masculine, your feminine, your action and your action, and your nurturing. The feminine, the divine inside of you, and the masculine, the matter outside. Like in the devil, that's why the feminine has an inflamed tail. The masculine has an inflamed tail, and the feminine has no fruit on her tail. The fruit on the tail would mean that you'd be bearing fruit. That's the whole point. He's bearing fruit, right? Now you have 5 above the feminine's head, which represents the 5 senses are overflamed and bearing down the feminine. They're both chained to that square together. That's a square of Saturn. When Saturn rules time and all physical matter and all that such and governs the laws and that and whatnot. The devil there has bat wings. The background is black to show you that you're blind as a bat. The pentagram is upside down to show you that it is mind over matter and not, matter over mind and not mind over matter, excuse me on that part. And the tail is inflamed to show you that your masculine or things that you're seeing outside are catching on too much. You're seeing too much of what's going on outside rather than nurturing what needs to be inside. And the exact opposite is showing of that in the lovers. If I can get to it real quick. There it is, real quick. Where you have the masculine and feminine. The feminine's tree is bountiful, has fruit. The snake on it just represents life because snakes move in a sine wave, and sine waves are what you want to see with life. If you're on a deathbed and it goes flat, that means you're dead. If it has the sine wave that's going up and down, that means life. You know what I mean? The masculine has a tree, has a tree that's full of flames. It's not just one big flame, it's multiple flames. It's being able to see. It's firewood, it's burning properly. The thing in the middle, the being with wings, is not an angel, that's yourself. That is you. That is you being connected, being ascended to a higher plane, a higher realm. That's your intuitive self, if you will, your higher self. It's not an angel. And the mountain in the middle shows that you two are connected, and the point is pointing up to that cloud. So your two are working together to get to higher realms, to know what you need to do with the divine's plan, that it's presented to you, not given to you, but presented to you. Because if it was given to you, you wouldn't be able to say no. It's presented to you because the divine doesn't put anything onto you. The physical realm will, though. But most people don't look into it that deep. Most people don't know how to look into it that deep, I should say, really. It's not taught. It's an ancient art. The gypsies made these cards, not the Europeans, not people from Italy or whatever the fuck it tells you when you Google it. The gypsies made this stuff. This is Egyptian knowledge. This is ancient arts that has been forgotten, that people claim is demonic. But in the end of the day, if it's demonic to know about who you are, then what the fuck are we, I mean, sure, I guess. Awesome. I mean, even though it says in the Bible to know thyself. I don't know. It's a bunch of he said, she said stuff because no one does the deep researches of it. And not only that, but the artist of the cards, Pamela, she is a incredible. I forgot her whole name. It's somewhere on the deck. I'll find it. Or maybe it's not. Yeah, Pamela Coleman Smith. There he goes. But Pamela Coleman Smith was an incredibly intelligent woman. She was fucking crazy. She was a dancer, an artist. She was an occultist at one point. She was a member of a hermetic social, a hermetic society, I should say. I can't remember the name of it. I think it was the Order of the Light or something. And that's where she made the cards. And even every tarot card, the way that they're made, the way that they have, it tells a story. So it's not even just a bunch of cards. These cards is a 72-page book. It's a story. And all these cards can be put out in an order, a chronological order, not by the number on the card or by the suit, but in an actual order to show you the whole complete story of these cards, of the completion of the unification between you and yourself to enter the Holy Land to get to your destiny. All those things. The first two cards is the fool right to the devil, because after you make that leap to a new start, you hit rock bottom. You have nowhere to go but to down because you can't fly. So you're there, you're bound, you're scared of all your surroundings, you're no longer able to listen to your intuition. The last card's the Chariot, represented by the two Sphinx and the masonry that you're sitting in, saying that you don't need wings to fly anymore. You're no longer needing that physical attachment to fly. You're able to go off wherever you want. And the masonry means that you've already built what you needed to build. You've already built the path. You've already created a sturdy foundation for you to rely on. And all these relate with biblical stories as well. And a lot of biblical, I guess motifs, I could say, on them, on the cards and everything. But everyone, it's not like a bad thing either, but like if you don't know how to read the Red or White tarot, then you don't know how to read any tarot, because it's all based off imagery. Everything on this deck was made correct for a specific reason. Like the suit of swords, for instance. If you go to the suit of swords, most of them have clouds. Well, most of the cards have clouds, but those clouds aren't just painted different ways for for no reason. Some of these clouds are painted, fluffy to indicate one thing. Where's the Knight of Swords? I'll show you that one too. There's it shows you like the mindset, the action. There's the Knight of Swords. Those clouds are painted differently for a specific reason. I can't remember the clouds off the top of my head, but I have them in my notes somewhere. But everything on the card is very specific. It's all imagery, but but people don't read them, or they buy other decks that are like cute or fancy and they have their own symbology that aren't relating to the actual meanings. Water being clouds are emotions within the mind. Anything you see, anytime you see a cloud that represents the mind, the thoughts, the higher realms. The Seven of Cups. The reason why all those cups are in the clouds is because you're thinking about all these things that you could do, all these options of marrying someone, getting in a relationship, getting money, going to war and dying. I could go all day about this stuff. I really could. Let me get the Seven of Cups out. Let me get the Seven of Cups out real quick. Because here it is, you have all these ideas. You can either go for knowledge, or go to marry someone, or go live a new life. You know, you could go get a new house. You can get spoils of fortune. You can go to war and die in honor. That's why there's a wreath and a skull in that cup. Or you could go just live a lustful life. That's why the gargoyle's there. You have all these options that you could go for and go to. But again, who else would tell you that stuff if they didn't read the cards and know what these cards meant? Like, again, they just think that it just means you have a bunch of options in front of you. Yeah, but do you understand the options that are being presented to you? The options that are being presented to you are in there. Mostly it's about connecting with something new, right? But they're all in the clouds because the clouds represent something higher. It's not actually solidified water yet. You know, it's not becoming that liquid state. It's still in a gaseous form. Anything with gaseous is a higher thing. It's elevated. Until it's actually waters, and then it's going to be ruling with the emotions, dealing with the feelings aspect. But until then, it's ruling with the mind still. It's still cultivating. It's still being curated. It's still being formed. It hasn't crystallized yet. That's why the sword, even with the swords as well, swords are just relating to the mind. Anything with anything to do with the air element is with the mind. Anything to do with the fire element is the God factor, the idea that you're presented with. Anything to do with the cups is the feelings, the energy, the funding that you're getting to spend to take those actions. But those actions can't be taken. Those actions being the pinnacles cannot be taken without going through the swords, going through the thought process, the thinking, the planning. And that's where things can get messy at as well. Within the plan, not within tarot, but within the plan that you're receiving. But that's the deep part about tarot. I mean, no one really gets it. I've only met one other person that knows how to read the cards like that, and they're teaching me a lot of this stuff because they're my mentor. So, yeah, it's a thing. Everything's made it. Like the Fool card. I'm not gonna pull it out because I put the cards up. But those wings on the sleeves, I forgot what it's called. But a baby bird has those exact same feathers because it can't fly. They're still being formed. That's the Fool card. You aren't fully mature yet to fly, but you know it's time to leave the nest. The white dog on there is your rational consciousness barking at you, saying, hey, there's a cliff there. Look at all that water. The water's slamming up against the side of the cliff. There's a lot of emotions. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of accumulating elements that are happening while things are smacking against the physical. I need to make this jump. I need to start this new thing, but I don't know how to. Of course, Eva. That's the whole point of me being here. I like helping people, you know. I'm glad that we're able to help you get out of that moment. It's something real that we all go through, you know. I'm glad that you were brave enough as well to even talk about it within the chat, because even that took bravery from you. So that was a great step for you as well. So yeah, we're always growing. We're always growing. We ain't taking a day off from growing. We grow us in all the time. That's all I want to do. Of course, of course. We all grow in our own different ways anyway. But yeah, thank you for the compliment for the growth as well. I appreciate it. It's nice just to hear from people, but it doesn't necessarily change much. But yeah, we're always trying to grow. We're always trying to learn something different. Nothing in this world is static, so why would anybody's mentality be static? You know what I mean? It's always good to break out of the shell once in a while and change and see a different viewpoint. I don't remember what I was going to type here either. But yeah, anything else? Any other questions? Any other topics we could talk about? Because I can multitask. You know, if I wasn't able to, I wouldn't have hit live. It's fine. Don't be worried about an email being tracked. Don't be worrying about that. Everything can be tracked. Even the comments on the YouTube live can be tracked. You know what I mean? Don't let that fear get to you. If you have something that you need to ask, you have a question or anything, be sure to like do so. Don't let that fear of someone seeing it be worrisome to you, because there's someone that's always going to see it. You know, you're always going to be safe and protected, and it's very like, I can understand why that fear is there as well. But at the end of the day, it's more of what do you need to do for yourself, rather than what is the rational mind, what is that part of you that's trying to keep you safe, trying to prevent you from doing and growing out of, and getting that help that you need, and getting that support, or getting what you are desiring to have come to you. What, you know, there's a bridge that it has to cross. You just have to be brave enough to take that bridge. That's part of taking a walk. So don't be afraid to like send the email. You can go for it. I've received all sorts of emails with people saying like, I can't go too much in depth because XYZ, but they go ahead and send it anyway. So just send it the way that you feel comfortable sending it. You know what I mean? Um, there we go. How did I get through it? Focusing on myself. Whenever I was locked in a basement, I took time to just meditate. Uh, Oddly enough, around the time I did get locked in a basement, because it's funny the way these cycles always pop up, and it's definitely for a reason. Um, but I haven't put my full hand on it just yet. But when I got locked in the basement and was starved, I already had in mind and was currently doing a 30-day challenge with my music, where I would just make a little song every day for 30 days. And for that entire month, I was locked in a basement, starved, and basically dehydrated. No, it's not triggering. Everything I've gone through, I've completely like overstood and healed from. There's not an ounce of anything that could perturb me from it. I could literally see the people that did that to me and not even bat an eye at them. Like I wouldn't have any sort of hate or anger towards them. I might even say hello to them if they looked at me the right way. You know what I mean? Like, I hold no grudge. And people might think that that's crazy, but I just don't have time or energy to do that. But I focused on that for 30 days despite all that. And during the other part and the other phase, which it was basically um on YouTube, like the whole adventure. I can't call it an adventure. I don't know what to call it other than an adventure. The whole adventure that I went through the last time was me just starting up this channel. Do you know why they did it to me? I have no idea. Zero idea. I could care less. Well, it's like I know why I was. Actually, no, I don't know why I was locked in the basement. They said that I was unpredictable, but the only thing I did that was out of character was tell my friend to stop being an asshole to me because at the time I was a punching bag. So apparently I was unpredictable for telling someone to stop being an asshole. Which is completely like valid. It's out of character for sure, but that doesn't make me unpredictable. It just means don't push my buttons. Like damn, like you know what? It's like you would expect, right? I don't know. I guess I just popped their whole fucking brain, and that just like oh my god, they have a voice. Like yeah, and I'll use it. Like what the hell? Like hello, I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know what prompted them to lock me in the basement. Like that was crazy. That was going a little bit too far. And then not only that, but stealing my food that I was getting from my dad was also pretty wild too. I don't know why they stole like my milk and like a bunch of bread that I had, and I was just like, you know what? That's fine. Like I guess y'all need it because listen, if you are at the point to where you're stealing from someone who's locked in your basement, doesn't have money, and you have to steal food from them, you must be fucked up. So I didn't like, I put my hands up. But they need it more than me apparently, because they fucking starving to death up there. If they have to steal from someone that ain't got shit, holy fuck, that's crazy. So that's why I don't hold a grudge against them. Because listen, how the hell can you do that to someone, and then like call it whatever you want, call it divine intervention, call it funny ass karma, whatever you want to say, but like damn, you gotta be fucked up to be doing that. You gotta be fucked up to be doing that. I don't know, like they were tiny ass things. They were I don't need that light on it, put too much glare on. It was like tiny ass biscuits. They were like this, they weren't even the size of my palm. They were tiny ass biscuits. And it was like lactose milk. It wasn't even good milk. But they were eating and drinking it. I, there were crumbs on the floor to prove it. Like they had to be fucked up. I don't know what the hell. Because even then after that, one of them was messaging me to pay them money, and I was like, I'm not gonna pay you anything. Like I'm locked in your basement. I'm not paying you a fucking dime, dude. The fuck? Like call the cops if you want me out. Cause then we'll have a whole escapade at that point. We'll have a whole like party and with party hats and confetti at that point. So, I just didn't do nothing. They didn't do nothing. We just kinda chilled it out. How do you write? You can't talk or write about something without going through it. That's the thing. The only thing you can do is change your outlook on it, is change your mindset on it, change how it's gonna move through you. If it's moving through you out of sorrow and pain, just let that out. Maybe you're needing to talk about it or write a narrative for it because that blockage is trying to show itself to you so that you can release it through either crying or releasing it somehow physically, right? Either by speaking about it will unlock a blockage, or, talking about it will help you see a different avenue of feeling about it, or show you the steps that happen, show you where you made a step and where someone else made a step and how they like mismatched and all these things. It's not about trying to avoid that feeling, but it's ways of working through that feeling so they're no longer hindering you or holding you back from moving on to the next part of your journey. Whether that part of the journey is like an emotional release or however, right? So it's just more of just getting acclimated with that energy, that part of you, not being inauthentic, not allowing yourself to withhold parts of you that need to be expressed. Exactly. You can talk about things that were burdens to you. That it's not even like in the sense of it being like, because that's one thing that I find hilarious. People will say, "Don't talk about your traumas or triggers. That's bad energy." No, what's bad energy, if anything is bad energy, is the fact that someone's telling you to shut up about it. That's awful. If someone's telling you not to talk about your burdens and making you feel like it's a bad thing, you've just been around people that are just bad people. They just don't got what you need. Because if you can't talk about what's happened to you, and not even like it doesn't even matter the response. If they just tell you to stop or they like instantly comfort you when you start crying, don't be near them. Like they need to allow you to feel those things to be where you need to be in that moment. That's going to help you the most, right? Unless you specifically ask for it, they shouldn't be jumping to the gun and doing what makes them feel comfortable. You should be able to express yourself however you need to in the way that it is, because that's healthy. What's not healthy is I'm not going to cry around them because it makes them uncomfortable. Fuck their comfortability. If they're uncomfortable with me crying, they can go walk away and make themselves comfortable. I'm not responsible for that. That might seem negative to them, but that's just you standing on your ground and taking care of your own needs, you know? And at the end of the day, that's going to be seen as negative because we live in this society where we think standing on your own too is like a bad thing, and it's not. It's just saying you know what you need and you're going to go do what you need. And if you don't like it, you don't have to watch. You know what I mean? So don't let yourself feel like it's in a positive way. It's a positive thing expressing it, period. That's the thing. It's only negative in those words in that sense that we're using them in if you're bottling them up and not allowing yourself to express them, right? Like you got to be comfortable in that aspect of it, because that's part of that's an authentic version of you. That's a past version of you that desires that expression, that deserves to be expressed. It doesn't deserve to be bottled up or convoluted by other people's opinion. It deserves to be expressed and seen because it's life. It's your story, and it's not about needing to be heard and seen by millions of people, but it's so that you can see yourself. You know what I mean? Because when you're talking to someone else about what you've gone through in your life and all these things, you hear yourself. You also hear yourself, and you'll go through those things and you'll go through those experiences again so you can see better versions of yourself so you're not stuck in past ways of being with them. But that's the important part. That's what you got to keep your mind on, is just doing what's right for you. Like, I'll even use myself as an example right there. Me, me just getting rid of that dude. People would say that's mean or rude or negative. No, I just don't want anyone like that in here. Like, sucks to be them. They just it sucks to be them. Not my problem. I love it. I love life because life will always do that for me. I've been so noticed. I've noticed it forever. Anytime I talk about anything that needs like an example, something's thrown my way. It's beautiful. Exactly. Nothing you go through is not funded by the divine. There is some form of divine energy that's being funded. Now, the actions that are taken are based on the person and how they're going about what they have received, not about the divine at all. Once it's in your hand, which it's in your vessel, and you're allowed to spend it, you can do whatever you want. Think of it as like getting an allowance from your parents. You could spend your $20 on school lunch, or you could go buy something at the comic store when you're on your way home, right? However you spend that $20 is what you did, but there's a consequence, a sequences of cons, of things that went against the original plan. Even though your parents would be your rational mind, and the divine would just be the money. You spend it however you wanted it to, you're fine with it, you got the reward, you got the food, which would be the divine, you got the comic book, which would be the divine, you're happy with that. But the consequence would be like, oh, so you spent this on a comic book, now you're in trouble. That's your rational mind making you feel like you've done something wrong. Or oh, you spent it on school lunch, and then you're praised like, oh, thank you for spending stuff on school lunch, and then like makes you feel better for doing something that was already a choice of yours to begin with, right? It just matters how you're spending that allowance, that energy that you're given, rather than allowing things externally to control it. Oh, let me switch to this because I got a lot to read. Exactly. That's why people need to express themselves more. Like it is a issue. Expression has been a really big issue, and that's mainly because the masculine energies have been in really big control um for a while. It's all been about actions and, bottling things up and keep moving forward. There's been less nurturing. There's been less mother. There's been less feminine energy that's been in life, and that needs to happen. That needs to be seen because we're seeing it happen everywhere. That's why so many wars are happening. There's not enough feminine energy. There's too much masculine. There's too much power that needs to be held for some reason. It doesn't need to be held. It needs to be coddled. It needs to be nurtured. That power can't do anything unless like dependent on the person who's controlling it or using it. Exactly. It's like because the way that this realm works is off those two energetic poles and the balances between them, the poles of femininity and masculinity, because those are elements that we can't get rid of on this realm, and it's all based on what you're desiring. And apparently in the world we're desiring more masculine energy, but in actuality we're not desiring more masculine energy because all the masculine energy that we're getting is turning into violence and lack of resource and people working themselves literally to death. We're needing that nurturing, that feminine energy that has been lacking. We're literally living the riddle of Humpty Dumpty, basically. If you really want to talk about it in a different way, we're living the riddle of Humpty Dumpty. The king's horses and the king's men can't put Humpty together again. You don't need like he's already smushed to death. We need to give him life. How do you get life from a feminine? Well, no, how we get life from a feminine? We'll talk about it in this way. Let me get MS Paint up. Let me get MS Paint up for this because this is funny. So we have some of y'all gonna get your minds busted for this one. I love this example so much. So we have. Let me. Wow. Okay. So here. Let me flip the camera. So we have he, right? And he, iron, whatever. You can say whatever you want for this, but this is gonna be the masculine energy, right? And then we have a sine wave, which is life. That's an awful sine wave, but we get the point, right? Sine wave, it presents life. It shows the ups and downs of life. It is literally the symbol of life for snake and everything. You flip the sine wave up on right, and you get she. This is literally why we exist, because we have she inside of he. You cannot have man without feminine giving life to man first. That's the whole like equation of life. Um, that's why woman is womb man and man is just man. Man just creates and does. The womb is where things are nurtured or held. You can't have anything being born. You can't have any progress without nurturing. It's not about hard work. It's about allowing things to rest when they need to rest so they can grow on their own and then come back in and do that work when it's necessary. Well, that's just a little fun example um, of life and its little puzzles and labels and names and stuff that we use. I'm gonna like turn my screen off. Hopefully I can turn this light on without that weird glare. Okay, good. The glare's gone. But that's just something fun. I might have gone by that a little bit too quick, but we're multitasking so much right now. I'm getting stuff to talk about here. I'm getting stuff to write down. It's fun. But yeah. I don't know. I just got really in the right there for a second. But I mean, life is not that mysterious. We've just forgotten the ancient ways. The fact that we're both masculine and feminine together. Like we can't be separated from either. We have both. And we have to create from those two elements at the same time, having them work together for us to create anything in life that's desirable. That's like the basis of alchemy as well. Because speaking about alchemy, a lot of people want to talk about alchemy. Oh boy, that's a fun topic. Yeah, I hope everyone is having a good day, or a well day, or however, awesome day. Insert adjective here day. Yeah, their duality isn't a thing. Polarity is. We're working on poles. You know, the masculine, the feminine, the positive, the negative. Anything negative is talking about feminine energy. It's not saying that it's evil and bad. Negative means that it's giving. When you look at a battery and look at the sides of the battery, that's what we're looking at. That's how this world is operating. This world is an electromagnetic thing. It's an electromagnetic matrix. Even light is just electromagnetic radiation. It's just what is it? I forgot. Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, no, it literally is electromagnetic radiation that we're getting. Everything's based off of magnetism. So when we're working magnetism, now we have magnets, and now we have electricity and batteries and all these things, and the positive and negatives, and the north and the south, those two poles that we're operating off of. Duality is a thing from internal to external. That is how you're able to comprehend things internally and externally. That's the inner duality. Because that goes back to yin and yang. Even yin and yang isn't talking about good and bad, it's talking about feminine and masculine. It's talking about how you're able to nurture yourself by taking action, and how taking action can nurture you. It's the balance of those two things. People get this stuff mixed up because they associate white with good and black with bad, which is not even a thing at all. Like, you can say that for sure, but who taught you that? When was that even a thing? Why was that presented? Why was good and bad a first thought rather than seeing the two things that you seen that you had, which was a mother and a father? You know what I mean? I try and stay knowledgeable. People, it's important to know this stuff because everyone's looking at the world as like it's good and bad, and I'm fighting evil forces. No, you're fighting yourself. You're fighting the fact that you won't admit that you're evil inside because you're seeing things as evil. They're your eyes, they're your feelings. If you don't like them being in that state, you can change them. Why are you being controlled by like that? You know what I mean? Taking back that power is important. Everything is neutral. Everything is neutral. That is the only reason why. You have a gravitational pull. Things revolve around you. Things come to you that you want. Things come to you that you don't want, but you do want them because it's your rational mind that you're fighting against. What's my thought on spiritual battle that's happening? It's an internal thing. It's not being televised. The spiritual battle is people needing to learn how to suffice on their own, meaning following their dreams. Anyway, we're just gonna ignore that because that was just obvious. Anyway, um, but following your dreams, following what you desire to do, your intentions. External? No, no, no. There's internal. Everything's internal. There's no such thing as a bad person. You want to know why there's no such thing as a bad person? No person will do an action that is inherently bad. They will only do that action because they have been convinced by themselves that it's good or for their protection. Killing people will say that's a bad thing. You just killed someone. Well, that person is going to defend himself. Well, I was told to. The devil made me do it. The angels told me to do it. I heard something to do it. They were convinced that it was a good deed. So it wasn't bad to them. It's only bad by other people's viewpoints. You see what I mean? And that just equals neutrality because both sides have valid views, valid points. Both sides can be seen. That's not saying one is right and one is wrong either. It's just saying that someone was told to do it and was given reason. There is no external good or bad. There is only internal. It is either you are agreeable or disagreeable with the forces around you. There cannot be an external bad. Because if there's an external bad, then we wouldn't have an internal bad. We would automatically know what not to do, and there would be no bad things that you would determine to be bad happening on the external. It's the fact that we have it internally that's projecting it externally, because it's our ideas, our thoughts, our own belief systems, our matrici that identifies those things as good and bad, that then creates them to be bad and giving us a reason to be disagreeable. Why would people attack us? It's not people attacking you, it's you attacking yourself. If someone's attacking you physically, it's because you've done something in them that has justified it. It's not a bad thing in their mind. To you, it's going to be something that's bad because you're experiencing it, but you're going to label it as bad to have boost to then put on someone that it is a bad thing. It's all these things. You have to look and you have to look really deep in yourself to understand these things. It's the same situation where I was locked in a basement. I don't think that they're bad people. They were doing something in their minds that they thought was beneficial. I don't know what that is. I don't care what that is, because that's their mindset and the way they wanted to think about it. I took it as whatever, I'm gonna just stay down here and do what I need to do. It's the transmutation. This is actually alchemy that we're talking about now. We're getting into the realm of alchemy, talking about in this sense. It's you and your own beliefs, your own rational mind itself that attacks yourself to make yourself feel like you need to be defended, to put you in a victimized state, to keep you from moving forward, to keep you from doing certain things that would help you and would make you desirable due to the implications of you being a good person and good people doing X, Y, Z whenever good people and bad people don't exist. It's just people doing what they believe is the right thing to do day in and day out. Everything's an illusion. You won't get down to the depth point of it because everything externally is an illusion. You know what I mean? Like, I could type in the chat all caps and someone would come in and say, "Why are you screaming?" I'm not screaming if I'm typing in all caps. I could just be putting emphasis on that word, but someone's going to take it as, me screaming. And that's the illusion that they live in, where capital letters equals screaming. And where in my reality it just meant bolding it in that pretext, right? Everything's an illusion. The only true thing we have is internal. That's why it's called reality. We have actuality, which happens internally, and then reality that happens again. Literally meaning again, re-experiencing the actuality internally projected externally. We're all projectors at the end of the day. So when people say someone's projecting energy at you, no, they're not. You're projecting your energy out on them, and they're a solid surface that you're seeing visually with light. So that light's going to reflect off of them as well as your own belief systems that's on them, and it's going to come back to you for you to digest and eat. You're literally eating your own words day to day. This is the cycle of life that people don't like to look at because we want to blame people. We've been raised up in a scapegoat lifestyle due to my studies, to how far I've gone into it, from the three ruling religions, which is Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, where they have this scapegoat mentality of seeing someone held in high view, being scapegoated XYZ, and then we believe that we have to punish someone else for their crimes rather than not understanding their point of view and just saying that they're bad for X, Y, and Z, when it's really just someone else who's in the mix-up, and that someone else is your internal self, the duality inside of you. And it all comes back it comes back the way you perceive it. That's why things hurt so much, because it's you. And you might not want to hurt someone else's feelings, but at the end of the day, you will hurt your own feelings like none other. You are your worst enemy and your best friend at the same time. It just depends on what field you're going to play and how you're going to play it. And that's what they feel like the right thing is to do for on their benefit. But you shouldn't have to play their game, because in their game, you're always going to be labeled as the bad person, and you're always going to be taking on the energy being reflected from your internal your internal input back onto them, back into you, of you being a bad person that's trying to seem good. Even though you might believe yourself to be good internally, you're still going to see things from their point of view because you're playing their game. Instead of doing that, walk your own path and know who you are. Let them believe whatever they want to believe, because that's not up with that. You're not dealing with them. That's not your ball field to play in. Your ball field to play in is to worry about you and how you wish to tell your story, because your story might involve them, but their story also involves you. They're two different stories, with the truth being in the middle. Until people can come together and start communicating, that truth isn't going to be seen unless someone goes inside of themselves, where the divine, the God, the observer inside has seen both sides of the story and is able to tell it in full force and without any sort of lies or white lies or anything, tell it in full honesty. You have to take that journey inside to get that point. The solution is to do whatever you feel is best. You might leaving them might not be the best thing. You know what I mean? Whatever you desire deep down inside, which comes from the intuitive side, not the rational side. If you're thinking about it and you're making choices based off of how you feel, and it's pretty coming in the what we know as emotions, well, most people know as emotions, then don't make that decision, because that's coming from the rational mind. That's coming from a force, a pressure. Something's forcing you to make that choice. If it's coming from the intuitive side, the divine, you'll have full-fledged awareness of what you need to do. Well, that's the thing. This is the conundrum as well with that. Not wanting to hurt other people's feelings, inverse hurts your own feelings, because it blocks a part of you from being authentic. It keeps you locked in a shell for other people's gratification, and that makes your rational self think, well, if I'm doing this for them, then they should be doing something for me. And that's not always the case. So you'll be met with that boundary of, well, they're still being mean to me and I'm still doing this. So if I stop doing this, does that make me a bad person? No, that just makes you free from their guidelines of their life that you're trying to accommodate to, that isn't your job to do. You know what I mean? So really just focus on what you desire to do. If this is like a friend group that you're trying to like get away from and they're not allowing you to express yourself in the ways that you're needing to, but you feel like you have to stay, the only reason you feel like you have to stay is because you overstand what you do for them. Whether that's energetically or attention wise or however, with even family in that sense. Because these labels that are on us, and it's not saying that you shouldn't be around family, do what you need to do. But some people, at the end of the day, despite if it's family or not, people are people, and some people just do not resonate with you. That doesn't mean they're a bad person. It just means that you just don't need to be around them. There's not a benefit. There's not an equal give and take. There's just more taking. There's not any giving. And that needs to be evaluated. That needs to be seen for you to take a step back and leave the situation. They might come to you and try and drag you back or say, oh, we miss you, come back. But there's a change that needs to be happening. And you need to vocalize that change, to be honest and be like, I can't be my true self around you all. And I need to be able to do that to be healthy, to help myself out. I don't want to damage myself. So allow yourself to step away from them, take that break. If you haven't already tried to mention that to them before, do that. And then step away, take that break. If they come back and say that they've changed, that's cool. If they tell you to come back and they're still the same, then just leave. But don't just feel like they're trying to hurt you. Some people are not able to express themselves. We're all programmed differently. Some people just will not have the mental capacity to break down feelings and break down what it means to be authentic. They'll think that it's good to fake it till you make it, but you'll never really make it because you're always faking it. You'll never really make it to where you're wanting to be because it's not where you want to go. You're faking it, right? And some people are built like that, and that's their line of life to live, and that's their experiment with life that they want to have, and that's perfectly fine. But just be sure that you're in control of how you want to feel, what you desire to do, and not letting a label of mother, father, sister, brother, uncle, whoever keep you from being that true version of yourself. Okay. Cool. Like, that's awesome to say. I'm just like, I don't know. People are very interesting. I'll leave it like that. Yeah, because I mean, it's important to remember at the end of the day, everyone's just doing something that they like to do. Even though it might not resonate with you or make you feel the best, people are doing what's right for them. And it's important not to stop them from doing what they feel is right. You know, maybe they're just around the wrong crowd. Maybe they're not, able to fully express themselves in a certain way and they're trying to experiment with these things, you know? Just allow things to happen. Don't have any control over it, you know? You can only control it to a certain extent anyway. Well, that's a toxic relationship that you're in, and I would definitely leave that. If you're unable to have your own freedom, but they're allowed to have their freedom, it should be discussed. And if not, just cut ties, because that would, to me personally, would be a boundary that I wouldn't want to have crossed. Because if I'm, even if it's not like a relationship, even if it's like a friendship or whatever, right? Whatever this is for you, I want to have that same like equal give and take. For instance, I literally have an example for this. I had a roommate that would constantly invite people over to the hotel, to the apartment that we were living in, and I never knew of who it was or when they were coming over. They would just knock on the door and they bring them in. And I was, I was paying rent at the time at that point. But I always would tell them, hey, I'm bringing someone over, because it was courteous. They didn't have that same boundary. So I told them, like, hey, look, if you're not going to tell me if anyone's coming over, I don't want them in this apartment, because I also live here, and I get that we have our separate rooms, but I want to know what's going on in my apartment that I'm also paying rent for, that I also live in, that my safety is also a part of. You know what I mean? Um, Anytime I would go out, I'd let them know, and they would just go out randomly and stuff. And it was one of those things where it's like, I just want to know where you're going, because it's important. Like, this is roommate thing. I like, it's not like a, you know what I mean? It's just courtesy. I like being aware of what people are doing, not in the sense to be controlled, but just to know, hey, you're doing good. All right, I'll, go on, like, go have fun or whatnot. You know what I mean? But it's important to have that communication. People might not think it is. Some people might think it's like being clingy or whatever, but it's not. It's just knowing what's going on. Because if it's happening in your realm and you don't know what's going on, you should probably get a little bit aware of it. But like, what the hell's like, what's going on? There's nothing wrong with it. There's not like a fault. You're not trying to make someone feel bad or shame them for it. It's just like, I just want to know what's going on, because both of our worlds are kind of mashed together right now, and I would like to know if anything is going to like occur that I need to be aware of. Because if you go out somewhere and you get hurt, and then you randomly just call me and say, hey, I'm hurt somewhere, I won't know what the fuck to do. I'll have to deal with that shock of the moment. I don't act on my feet too quick. Well, at least I didn't back then, so I would have to deal with the shock and stuff. And well, I don't know where you're at, and you have the only car, so I can't get to you. So now I got to call someone to go over there to you and all this stuff. You know what I mean? It's all order of process that happens. And no, it's not to be panicked about or like dramatized. It's something that should just be talked about. Especially if it's like a living quarter situation or a relationship. You should just be aware of that stuff. It's just like what are you doing? Why can't I go? Why can't I know? Like, why does there need to be a secret? Do you have trust issues, or are you doing something that's sneaky? It's one of the two. It better be trust issues. It better be trust issues, because if it's trust issues, we can work it out. If it's something sneaky, I'm gone. Do you have any suggestions for writing a narrative about things that could really mess me up as thinking about it? Take less time. Okay, this is gonna sound weird at first, but I'll do my best to break it down. Take less time thinking about it and put more time into feeling it. The brain is a super powerful tool, where it can give you fake feelings. It can give you those phantom feelings. We'll call them phantom feelings, for now. Um, they can give you memories, like visuals, phantom visuals and things of that nature. So it's best to feel. When you're typing, allow yourself to express from the heart, not from the mind. If you have to remember something, take time to feel it. Take time to go through with it. Some things you're unable to talk about because it's just not time yet. You haven't got over another hurdle that's going to allow you to do those things. So if you're unable to completely, don't pressure yourself. It's not a race. We have an eternity to do these things. Allow yourself that nurturing time to go through the process and to really be thorough with it, so that when you're at the point that where you can ask certain questions for help or talk about it in different ways, you're able to without that restrictive element to it. So just talk about what you can, and marinate in that, and work through that, and then take that step forward to talk about anything else that may be grander than that. Good, welcome in though. Welcome in, y'all. But yeah, I like, you know, cause I always say, I'm always gonna keep saying it. Always like email me if you need to. I know I'm busy, but I'm not gonna like throw everything in the trash can, right? That's not who I am. Like if someone needs help with something and I'm able to help, I will definitely do it. If you just need to send an email to vent, you can do that. You know what I mean? I might not respond. I might respond depending on if you want a response or not, right? Um, is there a favorite book or movie that you could suggest that helps you stand out for you? Um, Let me think about that, and I do know what the sigil for Anubis is. There's a lot of them, but there's one that's sticking out in particular that I'll do, and I can't remember if it's upright or in reverse, so I'll have to look it up. But it's a question mark, and at the base of the question mark, there's like a cross in it. I can't remember if that's up or down, but there's the other sigil as well. There's like a lot of there's like too many. Um, there's one that's like an upside down cross, kind of a Celtic cross with a circle on the end, and it has like a bolt there. It's like a scepter on the end, I think. And then there's the one with the two B's on it that are like two horizontal lines and circles on the end, and then there's one here, and it has two lines, and it goes a circle and down three. There's a lot of them. And then there's the Ankh that has a bunch of circles. There's like the Grand Ankh and has two circles on the two stems, and on the base has a stem, and then it has its normal cross in the middle. There's a lot of them. If you're wanting a specific one, email me about it and I can send it to you. There's a lot. Um, but for the movie, well, now that I'm thinking about it, the book, I gotta look it up. What is it? The Fire Within? I think it. No, what dragon book? What the fuck was it? It was It was a book about dragon. Yes, here it is. The Fire Within by Christy Lacey. This is a whole. It's called The Last Dragon Chronicles, and it was about this family that had these clay dragons, and they were the last family to ever have these dragons. They were passed down through like centuries, and these dragons would morph into actual dragons, and they were there to save the world. And it was this huge series. I think it has like 9 to 10 books. I used to have all of them. It was the only book I used to read. I didn't like reading as at all. Um, because in like third grade I was reading at like a high school level, and reading in elementary school was just boring because I didn't need to read the farmyard animal book. I was like I was too advanced for that at my age. It was bothersome to me. But I got into fifth grade and I was reading at a college level at fifth grade, which is fucking bizarre. Um, but I found this book series and it clicked with me. I love Christy Lacey. He's a good author. But it was literally just like a 9 series book of dragons that would save the world. But what was really interesting about the books, every title of the book was a different colored dragon crying a crimson tear, and inside that tear there would always be like another image. There was this dragon that was the red dragon, and when it cried, its tear was on fire and it had a phoenix inside of it. It was really interesting. But that series was probably one of the best series I ever read. Um, and I'll never forget the first book because my I remember just like visually reading it. There was a scene in the book where it's talking about everyone sitting in the kitchen with the clay dragons, and they had a cat as well. I forgot the cat's name, but they were sitting down there talking about something, and I believe it was the aunt or the father who was coming home, and one of the dragons was flying around in the air, and they had to go catch it. And I just remembered seeing that in my mind so vividly when I was reading. But that was a fun series to read. I remember as well, I got in trouble in social studies class for reading a Garfield comic book, and they took it from me, and I had to pay the library money. And I don't know why I remembered that. I don't know why that came up, but that did. Um, but that was an event to have. That was an event to have. I just remember she said no reading during class, and I was really confused as to why. I had the work finished, but I love Garfield too. I love Garfield. Me and my friends used to have this group chat called the Garfield Fan Club, and I don't remember. No, I do remember why. We were watching the Garfield movie, and this was like in like I think 2018, 2019. And I just remember they were watching the Garfield movie in the group chat, and I couldn't watch it because I was at a friend's house. But the group chat got rethemed to Garfield, and that shit was crazy. Yeah, I don't know what it's up with like the school system and letting you not read. Like you can't read right now. We're doing something. Well, I'm not doing anything, so why can't I read? I thought I was supposed to get education, not fucking bossed around about what I can and can't do. But oh well. I had a Garfield plushie. I had a Garfield mug, a Garfield coffee mug. Well, it was my mom's, but she gave it to me. And that was the cool thing. I don't remember what happened to it. I think we sold it or something. It got something happened to it. A lot of my stuff was like sold without my permission at one point in my life, and I don't really know why. I don't really care either. But it's whatever. I got you. I got you. I got you. Let me go back to the tab that had that, and I got you. There it is. It was called Firestar. I forgot. No, it was Fireworld. Sorry, excuse me. Fireworld was the one with the phoenix in the eye. Okay, never mind. We're good. You could really just look up the author, and you'll find everything. But you know, he's got some good books. I want to get all these books again. I had them all. No, I didn't. I didn't have the Fire Eternal. That was the only book I didn't have. And no, it wasn't. Which one was it? No, it was. It was the Fire Eternal that I didn't have, and that pissed me off. I read it, but I never had a physical copy of it. I couldn't find one ever. And I wasn't gonna buy one online because I wasn't able to use Amazon at the time. But this series was good. I remember Darkfire was specifically hardback, and it was the biggest book of them all. No, it wasn't. It was Fireworld and Darkfire that were the biggest books of them all, and that was fucking crazy. I'm gonna have to go back and reread those series. I think that's the goal, at some point. I don't even know what else I'm gonna write about this. I got like a few more. Damn. Also, if you guys are wanting to know how in depth this book is, the second book is going, I spent 7 pages explaining how the rational mind works, giving examples of how to break it off, but it wasn't like too in depth to be confusing, but it was enough in depth to like be a bit of a brain buster. But there's 9 whole pages in total right now, and I'm just now getting to the intuitive mind. And it's not even fully about the intuitive mind. It's still talking about the rational mind still, because of how closely knit everything is. But that's gonna be fun. I do my best. I do my best to teach and answer questions. I mean, if I don't know an answer to something, I will just tell you I don't know. What's the book of the ego? The book of the ego is just explaining the duality within yourself, your rational minded self, which is what's taking things from the external and internalizing it, and things from the divine, which is taking things from the invisible and internalizing it so you can bring it to the physical. But the first part of that book is already done. If you're interested in it, you can email me. All books I have are like $15. But you just can email me. It's in the pinned message, and I'll set you up with them and send you a list of all the other books if you're interested in that. Um, but it's just helping people understand what the ego actually is, because the ego is not this singular thing, and it's not something you need to kill or destroy. Um, it is genuinely um, how you operate. It's your operating system. It's literally the title of the book. Is literally called when I get to it is the operating system of life, and then it has the colons OS life, and then the number from the matrix that you break out of it, the 001011110. I put that in there as well, but it's just breaking down the inner process of how you see things and how your ego grabs onto things and how it's transmuted and digested within your body and your mind. But it's definitely a good read. While writing it, I've had a lot of brain busts myself. Not, I don't know, because it's different. You know what I mean? When you're writing something out, it's different than just knowing it. When you're writing it out, everything just kind of clicks more. It's actually putting the action into it that forces more of a spirit onto things. It's very interesting though. But they're good reads. I got 2 books on duality, another book on life, but it's more of like the script of life and the authenticity that needs to be held within life. And then I have a channeled book from like a bunch of Egyptian gods and a few angels, and then a book on self-love that just allows you to know that self-love isn't always about loving yourself internally. Self-love can be a very external thing as well. Just the two, I'm very focused on the 2 sides of the coins for all the stuff that I write books on, because it's not just one direct thing. There's always 2. It can't be one, and if it is one, it's between your internal and your external. And that's still 2. But things of that nature are very important to write about, because not many people will see it that way. You can't really see the invisible. You can only kind of feel it or guesstimate about it. And most like spiritual gurus and stuff won't talk to you about it. They'll either say it's not necessary or something, and it's not necessary because they don't understand it themselves yet, and they're waiting to understand it completely before talking about it, rather than just talking about the journey with it, which is what I do all the time. Like, you're never gonna master anything in this life until you're like able to do it like that, and the fact that no one can yet just proves that nothing's been mastered fully. Your masters aren't necessarily masters. They're just prolific or proficient, I should say, in whatever they're doing. Very proficient, or publicly praised, or however. It takes a lifetime to be a master, and a lifetime's an eternity. So that's a fun little one for you. Student for life, exactly. You're a teacher and a student. You're teaching yourself, you're teaching others, you're learning from others, you're learning from yourself. It's a game. You gotta play it that way. Yeah, I'm only on YouTube. Like, because I'll tell you the difference between me and most other people. They're doing it for money. I'm doing it to actually help some people. I'm here to actually educate some people. I read stuff, even when I do. Not all the time, because it's not every time, but most of the time when I do readings, I'll look at the chat and I'll respond to them. Like, I like to interact with people. You know what I mean? Like, well, I used to whenever the channel was a lot smaller. I would do lives all the time, and I would talk to people directly. Like, I would answer their questions mid reading and stuff. So I respond to YouTube chat all the time. I'll even like if nothing's going on at all, I'll respond to trolls too. Like if the chat is just dead and someone says something weird in here, I'll respond to it. Not because I'm disturbed, but I just need something happening. It happens a lot. Sometimes the chat just goes deaf. I just kind of goes quiet and then it pops up. It's like, oh boy. Yeah, you have to be humble. Listen, you have to laugh at yourself. If you don't laugh at yourself, that's the first thing you got to work on. If you can't laugh at yourself, that's the first issue. Trust me. You have to have humility. You can't be humble without humility. You cannot. You can't be humble and be like, oh, I fucked up, and like not laugh about it, because that's not being humble. Humble is not only external, it's internal. If you can't be humble to yourself inside, then it can't go externally. YouTube blogs me too. Let me tell you, they say shadow banning isn't real, but I've been shadow banned for the past like 3 months. I have people message, like it's not even just me, it's other people as well that's going through it. But it's their algorithm. There's something wrong with the AI. It keeps false flagging people's videos, and they're not being seen. And I keep trying to talk to them about like, hey, your system's fucked up, and they're like, no, it's not. We can't do anything to fix it. Like, what do you mean you can't do anything to fix it? I literally talked to a manager on YouTube support 2 days ago, and I was like, can you bring me to anyone higher in this system to talk to about this, because obviously you're not getting what I'm trying to tell you. And they said there's no one else that I can bring you to. You're talking to me and I'm the manager. And I was like, no, there has to be someone higher than you. Like, there's higher than a manager. You just don't want to do it because you'll get in trouble for not actually, doing a good job at what you're supposed to be doing. And that's fine. But whenever I find that contact to get them, you best believe I'm going to talk about it, because it's not just my channel, it's other people's channels too that they've like emailed me about it in the comments, and no one's getting their stuff seen, despite them rolling an update out that makes newer channels more visible, which is bullshit, because a lot of the new channels still aren't being seen. So it's like, I don't know. They just got a messed up system that they don't really want to take care of. Which is unfortunate. But yeah, it's not about the pay. It's about helping. I could give a shit less. Like, genuinely, I ain't getting nothing this month at all. Nothing at all that's gonna suffice. And if it was about the money, you wouldn't see me here. I would not be working on a book. You wouldn't be seeing me here. It ain't got nothing to do with money. Money keeps me afloat. Money keeps me able to produce the content and put it out quicker. That's about it. That's all it's doing, is keeping me in hotel rooms. It ain't funding nothing else. I got fundraisers and shit, but at the end of the day, it's going to certain things. And as well as like, when I even try and boost a fundraiser, those things get tanked. Like, I think it's weird with the algorithm, because I've made like posts and videos about the fundraisers, and they don't get any views at all. It's hilarious. It's actually comical. There's my other live. This is the only live I got. I'm on YouTube live. I don't have a laptop strong enough to do multi-stream, so I'm only on YouTube. If you're wanting to donate, which I appreciate, in the pinned message, I have my email and I have all the payment methods that you can do. I appreciate it if you're going to donate, brother. If you can't, no worries. Oh, yeah, for sure. Did I put it back? I can't see. I'm blind. I put it over here? Or is it somewhere else? Let me go find it for you. Let me go find it for you. Because if it's not over here, okay, so it's over here. It's right here. Awesome. Yeah, I got you. I got you for the book. And you're still astral traveling? Hell yeah. Unless that's an issue, then oh goodness. Let me make sure I get this right for you. His last name is weird. It's okay. Well, there's the book title for you about the symbols. No, they do their job. Don't be doing that. They make posts every so often. You just missed it a while ago. They literally the last message they said was to check the bio for stuff, you know? They do their job. Ain't no worries. I didn't even tell them to do this, you know what I mean? Like, they're just doing that out of the will of their own heart. I don't tell anyone to do anything, you know? They just wanted to mod. And I was like, I need people in here to moderate, so mod as well, you know? All I ask is to keep the trolls at a minimum. Like, you know what I mean? But they do their job. We moving, we grooving up in here. Yeah, security! Get them out of here. Okay, bro. You do what you want to do, bro. That's cool. That's on you, not me, brother. It's all on you. Okay. I guess I'm weird for pointing out the obvious, bro. You're the one that's weird coming in here saying you're gonna donate and then yelling at one of my mods despite you not having any ownership of this channel, and then saying you're not gonna donate in front of people. Like, that's the weird part, bro. You can keep your money. That's okay. I don't need it. I'll find someone else to donate. Don't you worry, bro. Trust me. Trust me. Oh my goodness. I just don't get it. People be weird, bro. Oh, so you don't want my money? I never said I did. You offered it. Oh my god, dude. I don't know. That's just funny to me. I don't have time to get mad. I really don't. I think that shit's hilarious. Oh man. I'm glad I walked the path I did in life, because if I didn't walk the path I was walked down, I would have been pissed off. I ain't got time for that. There's always one. There's always one. There has to be. There has to be. It can't. The cycle cannot be complete. The world cannot be in balance unless there is. And that's perfectly fine. I don't even know how to write this book no more. I can't even focus on the book no more. That shit got me rolling. Oh, goodness. I'll have this book finished sometime. I ain't no rush. Ain't no rush at all. It can definitely feel like it's you against the world, but you remember that the world revolves around you. So what pressure are you putting on yourself that makes it feel like the world is against you? You know what I mean? What would a depressed nihilist do? I don't know, because I'm not, I don't, you know, I'm not too sure. I wouldn't know that answer actually. Oh, word, Joe? Okay. That's actually cool. I love doing this stuff. People trying to destiny swap with me. Destiny swapping doesn't exist. That's a big scam and that's a big lie. Don't buy into that. Destiny swapping is not real. That is a big scam. That is a fear-based program. You gotta stop believing in that. No one can steal your destiny. Your destiny is yours. The only thing that can happen to your destiny is the reluctancy to work on it due to your own viewpoints of external actions being taken by others who have no will or control over your own life. You know what I mean? When people say destiny helpers, they're talking about the actions that people can do to help you move forward on your path. They're not talking about specific people. So destiny swapping is not a thing. That was, I don't know where that came from, and even I used to talk about it too on like past readings. I really don't know where that shit came from, but everyone was like talking about, oh, your star is being stolen, people are stealing your destiny, and then following it up with, but you're okay and safe. Well, what is it? Is my destiny being stolen or am I safe? Why do I need to be aware of it if I'm safe from it? Now you're putting me in danger of it by putting it in my consciousness. Now I'm not going to take actions. They don't realize that's the game the devil plays, by the way, tenfold. Unfortunately, people won't want to hear this, but when people say those sort of things in readings, they're working for the devil when they say those things. They'll say but and contradict it with but, because but is showing the exact opposite. You don't say but unless you're going to directly debate the previous sentence. You would say and, right? You wouldn't need to say but for that. That's a grammatical thing. But as well, like, is how it is. I say but a lot too. It is like an issue with the world as well. We're not really taught the correct grammar that way. Most people aren't giving much of a shit either. So it's something we have to learn. But regardless, what do you think about family curses? Family curses are individuals and are individual things. It's about you and your bloodline that you came from. So if you're, let's say your father was an alcoholic and your mother was reluctant to stand up for yourself, you might have an issue with standing up to yourself and then go towards different types of substance abuses to kind of help you with that. Or you might meet people on your path who push you into feeling like you can't stand up for yourself and be that way, or bump into people who are into substances that you partake in as well. Um, they're real, but they're just showing you what your parents went through, because whatever they did in their life is now part of your DNA. It's not necessarily a curse, but it's just part of who you are with those two people mixing their genes and their habits, their way of life together. And you're just the offspring of that. Breaking those curses just means not doing the same things that they did, which parents should really just be telling their kids what they did and what they shouldn't be doing, and walking down that path as well with them. But again, it all depends on who they were when they were a kid. If they were rambunctious and rebellious, and that's going to be projected onto them, onto the child, the offspring, I should say. All these things. It's just a mixed mash of DNA at the end. At the end of the day, when it comes to family curses, and it's like the chemical reaction, the chemical changes that happen. Whatever they experience is going to be put into you, and that's like the big thing with it. I have my phone here to have the chat up on my laptop. I don't know, like, I put it there so you wouldn't hear my clacking of the things, but I could probably just move my phone, but I'm just not going to. I'm in one of those states right now, I guess. I mean, it's always important to just know like where you came from, like knowing your ancestors and like knowing your family history is very important. just so you know what you are going through. Whether that's like your native grounds, your ancient grounds, however far you can go back, right? It's just important to know because if they went through it and their bloodline went through those things, you're most likely going to go across things in this life where you're, consciously aware of them, where you're dealing with those exact same things and need to combat against them, you know. And you'll know that you'll be combating against them whenever you're lost and confused and things feel like they're falling apart, because that's you literally fighting against that system that's been programmed into you for so long, however long it's been. That's something as well. I'm not gonna work on the book. I can't. I've done like 4 pages today. I think that's good enough. I might work on it later. I can't multitask anymore. That little spark of inspiration is now gone. It is gone to fleet. It no longer exists. I'm learning it yet. Unlearning outdated belief systems is the way to go. That is the key. And getting to a point to where you no longer need like a belief system, but that, that's for to each their own on that point. You really shouldn't have a system of beliefs. You should have a system of knowings, like knowing that if you do one thing, it should happen. Because this world has its own set, like program. Like it's just chemical reactions happening day to day. You should at least have an understanding of doing one action, creating another one, and being control over how you're going to respond towards those things. And that's the only thing that we can really do on the physical realm anyway, is control how we respond to the things around us rather than letting the things around us control us and force us to respond in certain ways. You were for your church people. I was around a lot of church people. I had a pastor uh, come up to me when I was like 5 years, like not five, I was like probably like 10 or 11 or 9. I can't remember. But he came up to me and said, "The presence of God is on your life." And then he was completely obsessed with me after that and kept trying to get me baptized every 2 days. It was kind of funny. I ended up getting baptized. Um, but he was obsessed with getting me baptized. It was like really, it was kind of funny. Because my mom and dad weren't the type to push religion on me. My mom went to church, but she was like, "I don't want you to feel like you have to go." My dad couldn't give a shit less. So I just kind of went to go to learn. And he was like, "You need to get baptized." And I was like, "Oh, I don't get it." I wanted, no, listen here. Here's the thing though. I I allowed myself to get baptized for another reason. I really wanted to eat the crackers and drink the grape juice because I would always get hungry during church. And I was just happy that I could finally eat and drink something during church without getting in trouble. So I would partake of the flesh and the blood simply just to like eat during church. I didn't I didn't care about the symbolisms of it. I was like, give me the grape juice. Give me the things. Because I distinctly remember always asking my mom, like, "Can we get something to eat after church?" And she'd be like, "Yeah, but don't talk during the sermon. It's rude." I was like, "Well, I'm hungry. Like, I don't care about no sermon. I'm hungry." But that's just a fun little memory I have. That preacher doesn't like me anymore either. He, I don't know what happened to him. He turned into something else. Oh, word. Nice. No, seriously though. So you get it though. Like it's Like, damn, I'm hungry. Like, shit. Oh, they're giving out. How the hell do you get to eat a snack during church? What do I gotta do? I'd always ask my mom, "Can I have that?" They say, "No, it's for people who are baptized." What does it mean to be baptized? And then I don't know. Years later, I got baptized, and it wasn't even worth it. Like, I remember distinctly, I was sitting there and I had like this. I had the grape juice and the little cracker, and I was like, I want more than this though. I'm not even like full. I'm hungry still. So I didn't like. I did it, but I wasn't fulfilled. But I understood what was going on, and then later in the years, I got rebaptized again later on for an actual like reason, for an actual purpose. And then after that, I just kind of split away from the church and went my own way. Like, I learned what I had to learn from the church, and then I kind of just went the opposite way because there's too much things that didn't relate to what God would have wanted in the church. You know, sexual assaults, fucking pedophilic preachers, racism, which was really funny to witness in church. Not funny like haha, but you know, it was just odd that the preacher's son was also black, and then I would be the one that was be called out for stuff and bullied. I remember my shoe got thrown into a fire pit one day because we went to someone's house, and it was weird because the woman that was hosting the thing worked at my school as a school counselor, and her son threw my shoe in the fire pit, and I only had one shoe, and I had to walk home with one shoe. Well, not walk home, but I had to go home with one shoe, and I got in trouble for letting someone throw my shoe in the fire. Even like they literally pushed me on the ground and took it off of me. So that was fun. You know, but you know, all's good because I'm not gonna go into it. God does his thing, karma does its thing, life goes on. But you know, I've gone to all sorts of churches. I've gone to a church where they spoke tongues, and I experienced what that was, and that was weird because my brother was making fun of me the whole time because I was sitting there like confused, and I don't know what spirit it was because again, I don't really know these people's religion. They didn't really say what they were doing. They wasn't really saying God. They were just, it was a house church type of thing. They were just speaking tongues. I felt some spirit come over me. I don't know what it was. I'd never done enough digging into it to really like nurture it. But that happened, and that was in Wyoming. I think I got rebaptized in Wyoming too. I think that's who it was. I think it was that preacher. But it was some preacher who taught in church and then had a house church sermon as well, where it was just a smaller group, and it was very interesting. Like I never understood that, but I remember the preacher was really cool. But I've had a lot of religious experiences in life. It's just what you got to collect at some point. You know, it might not be this lifetime, it might be another one, but it's good to go around and collect those experiences for sure. I don't know if it was Samael. That's the thing. I don't know what it is, so I can't. I'm not even gonna like put it on anything. That might have been something to do with the past life, with family and stuff, familiars and stuff. Might have been. I can't be too sure. I'd have to go back and think about it. You know, that's the thing. Because I remember the house, the whole setting and everything. I just haven't done any like meditations on it to really digest what fully went on. I know it was talking in tongues, and I know my brother was like laughing at me on the way back because he was like, "I told you this church is crazy," and I was like, "I don't get what was so crazy about it," but it definitely was an awakening for sure. I'll leave it at that. I definitely was presented something that I never knew existed at that age. So it was a nice experience. I mean, you can't for certain say that it is. You know what I mean? Because you're not me. You don't know my experience of it. You can guesstimate it for sure, but you'll never really know my interpretation for what it was sent from me for. My it was for me to go there, unless you know my entire life. You know what I mean? And that's another thing. with like readers and stuff. Unless you actually know that person, it's hard to like gauge like certain things. It just depends because like you have to know that person enough to even dictate what's happening within their own energy and their own psyche. It's very important for that. Like the gypsies knew that as well. Like if gypsies were even going to do anything related to the future with fortunes and stuff, they would just throw bones and read the stars like actual constellations and not worry about your zodiacs and stuff. So it all depends. There's certain systems for certain things, but we've all kind of just forgot about all of them, unfortunately. Uh, I don't know. Oh, that's broke. Well, yeah, of course your soul knows my soul. We come from the same soul. We came from the same mother at the end of the day. We are all born from the same mother. So you know me in spirit, but in flesh you won't. And the rational self is what controls mostly of the flesh. No matter how spiritual you become, you're still bound by flesh. So even though you may believe that you think that you know, it still goes down to the personal aspect of it, the personal interpretation of that experience. I mean, my gifts were already awakened way before that period as well. Like I was always gifted since like birth. Like it wasn't even anything like it got intense or awakened in me. My gifts have always been like very on par with stuff. I was astral traveling at like 5 years old, like going around places. I went like to school and shit, astral traveling, all sorts of shit. Um, I messed with like magic and stuff when I was around like 8, 7, 8, 9 years of age. Is it true that Baphomet is Sophia? Baphomet is Baphomet. Sophia is Sophia. These are two different entities. They're not the well. It depends on how deep you want to go with it. They're the same as in they have like relations, but they're not the same entity. But yeah, I was doing all sorts of stuff. I was talking to like go. I was talking to spirits and stuff like all through my life. Like I live next to a family cemetery, and I just go down there and talk to them all the time. Like I, I was born activated or something. Everything else has just kind of taught me more like deeper insights moving on with just being more aware of my actions, being more aware of the conscious realm. Like I don't know. I don't know. They already have the technology to project all sorts of like brain patterns and thoughts out, but I don't want to do that anymore. Because like I used to joke around and say like if I could project all my thoughts out like a movie projector, I would. I don't want to do that anymore. That's no longer on the list of things to do. Welcome in, Rahu Bot. Welcome in. How are you? Yeah, I mean I get what you mean with like the whole like soul recognition and stuff. I get that for sure. But you have to know at the same time with the soul there's still two parts of the soul. There's the outer part that's the visible and the inner part of the soul as well. So because there's never only going to be one. So at the end of the day your soul will recognize and guesstimate from its past experiences, but will never know the personal experience of that soul as well. So I get what you're saying. I've walked down that path though a few times. I'm kind of walking back down it again, writing the book on the ego. So it's a fun one for sure. But I get what you mean. And I'm used to looking at the laptop, so I'm looking here and not there. So I should probably just move the phone. So I'm looking at y'all and not looking like I'm trying to look away or something. I'm literally just eyes glued to one screen, not to the other. What kind of magic I'm into? All sorts of stuff. All kinds. I'm into hoodoo. I'm into the angelic magic. I know a bit of Enochian. I know a little bit of Wiccan to get me past a few things. I know enough of Kitchen Witch material to get me, through a day or two. What do you mean you won't understand the inner soul versus the outer? Well, there's two parts of everything. There's not a singular thing. There's a mother and a father. When you're born, there's the outside that you can see, then there's the core of the soul. That core of the soul stays completely pure. The external of the soul also stays completely pure, but externalizes things still to that degree. Can see things from both an internal and external state just as we can, but it's not going to understand the deeper internals for that experience of that particular soul that's going through it. So if two souls got into a car accident the same way, with the same amount of people, the same car, the same scenario, the same day, those two exact same souls, right? Each one would experience it in a slightly different way. In that sense, both would be prepared in the wholeness, both would be ready for it, but there would be an experience on that soul's part, a lesson learned on that soul's part that's different from another person, from that other soul, I should say. Maybe one soul had to learn the lesson to not trust that person to drive because they're not a good driver. Another soul had to pay attention to where they were actually looking. It all comes from that perspective. Because even though we're all connected because we came from the same source, our perspectives are always going to be different. Our souls have different lessons to learn. You know what I mean? Yeah, I have a Discord. Let me make another invite link. I forgot to make a post about that. That actually reminded me. I gotta move my phone like 1,000 times. But I could let y'all know in here for sure. Cause I want to move like teaches and classes over to Discord at some point as well. Cause it's just gonna be better that way. But there's the Discord if you want to join. We already have a few people in it. No idea when I'm going to do the first thing in there, but definitely will. Right. Yeah. Basically that. Because even though all souls are created at the same time, each soul is created with a different purpose. That purpose being to recognize who it is, but who is it? It has to go through lifetimes of lessons to truly figure out who it is, what it's doing, and the lessons that it needs to learn so that it can master itself. So every soul is connected to each other. We are one of the same, but our souls have individual lessons that we need to learn differently in that whole aspect, right? You might need to learn to stop calling something the color blue, right? Meanwhile, I need to start calling it the color blue. You know what I mean? It's that different perspective, and it's less of a physical thing, more of a spiritual thing, figuring out why you operate that way, because it's not the vessel while you're operating, it's the soul, the energy that you're being funded with. So why are you being funded in this way in this life? And that's what differentiates the soul, because if there's a similarity, there needs to be a difference as well, just to keep that balance. There can't be one side too heavy. So that's the interesting part about it all, because everyone wants to think that it's like this one thing, but there's no one. The one is split into two. The one has an outside and an inside, a visible and an invisible part of it. Like it's not many people go that deep with it, and I can understand why. It's just not talked about. We don't like to overcomplicate things of that nature, but it's one of those things where there are always two sides to things. There cannot just be one side. Even a one-dimensional object has 2 points. You know what I mean? And that's just a straight line. They have 2 points. There's not just one. And that those 2 points create a third, which is that black line, that connective point that you actually see. You know, we're all connected, and we're connected through the third, which is technically the mother, but we're here experiencing father in different ways. What about the soul contract? I remember my pre-birth experience too. Um, so soul contracts are fun because it's basically the script of your life. It's what you signed up for. It's literally your entire script of your life. People will say this is the kicker, right? Because I say this all the time and people disagree with it. People will say you can't break soul contracts. You can. If it's in your soul contract that you're breaking one, guess what you're doing? You're breaking it because it's something you have to do. Nothing is impossible on this realm. It depends on what you're supposed to specifically do. We all have our main goal on our soul contract is to connect back to our root self. Period. That's the one thing that we have in common, all of us together, is connect right back to home, to remember where we came from, to go back to mother. That's our main goal, to be united fully again. Other than that, we have individual goals that we're here to complete. Maybe you have anger issues. Maybe you have issues expressing yourself. This is why we have our zodiacs, our astrology charts. Those tell you what you're here to learn, your challenges, your oppositions, what you're going to gain, your wisdom, how you're going to gain it, who you are. That's to give you guidelines of where you're supposed to do. It's your stars, is where you're going to go, right? It's how you're connecting with yourself. Think of yourself as a constellation, and those stars are what make up where you're going. Those planets represent the laws that you're being governed under, and the degrees are how intense or lacking they're going to be in your life, and where it's going to curate and when and how, right? All those things. So when it comes to soul contracts, all that stuff's written down. You have a bunch of goals, and then you have a soul purpose. You have the mother's soul purpose, which is to get you to connect with everything and to be whole again. And then you have your individual soul purpose. What are you here to do? What do you desire to do in life? And you have this conversation with mother and father before you're birthed. You have this conversation in soul within the invisible. Well, you can do anything you want, is what mother says, but you have a limited amount of time to do so because you're put into a body that expires, says father. They too tell you these things, and they say you can do whatever you want, though. What do you wish to do? Out of all the things that you can imagine, what is the thing that you desire the most? It can be many, it can be one. Whatever you desire is what will give you the ability to do. And you tell them those things within the mind, within the invisible, and you tell them these things that you desire to do. I want this, I want that, I want that, I want that. And it goes, okay, mother says, good, you can have all these things. Father goes, but since you're going to be put on this realm, in this flesh, in this vessel, here are some limitations that you're going to have. Here are the restrictions that you can have. That doesn't mean you can't do it, but you're here to learn that lesson. These lessons of why you're born on these stars are their lessons, and that vessel that you're put in is determined based off of those stars. That's my perspective of it, at least, from how I remember things. But you do have a connection with mother and father directly, and they talk to you directly and tell you you can do whatever you want, and here's what you do. You have no limitations. Whatever your heart truly desires, you can do, and you are given those things. That's truly what happens. And when you're sent here, that's why you have these urges like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, I feel like I need to do this, I feel like I need to do that. Those strong urges is that reminder, that ding, that bell from mother saying, remember, you're here to do this, you can do that, you'll be fine. But you're so focused on father, which is the rational mind telling you you have a limited amount of time to do it. But that limited time isn't based off of a truth. It's based off of the illusion of being in this vessel. This vessel has a timer on it, and when that timer's gone, it's gone. But your soul is eternal, never to age, never to die. It just recycles. It goes into a new vessel, learning new lessons, continuing down that same path, getting new wisdom, getting new outlooks in that sense. That's my perspective of soul contracts. Because again, like, sometimes you're meant to break soul contracts. Sometimes you are there to do the thing that people say you can't do, just to show that it can be done. I broke a soul contract before. I don't like. That's the thing. I had the last scenario that I was in, that was supposed to be like my soulmate, my divine masculine or whatever. I broke a contract with them like that. I said, fuck no, I'm done with that. Because the events that transpired were the way they were supposed to transpire. They didn't keep up their part of the deal. I didn't keep up my part of the deal. It broke. It wasn't meant to be. How did you break it? That I can't go into extreme detail about how I broke it. But there were certain requirements on both of our behalves that were not met, and that led down to a path of being able to break it. Because in the script of life and the Akashic records, what people like to say, the Akashic records is a choice, and you have to choose and be determined to do those things. If you're wanting to break a soul contract or a tie with someone, you can do those things. The only thing that you need to do is to talk with the divine, go to your spiritual court and say, what do I need to do to break these bonds, to break these ties with this individual soul? Our time is run out. Sometimes it's already put on the contract, your soul contract, that this lifetime, the timer is going to run out for your two's lifetime to be incarnated together, and this is going to be the last occurrence that you're going to have. After this life, you're going to split away, right? Sometimes that's the thing, other times it's not. It really depends. Don't worry about trying to remove yourself from the flesh of it. Remember that your soul's at the core value of it. So taking it to the spiritual realm and seeing, what does this soul still have to offer for me? What lessons does this soul have to teach me? And if able to, can I learn those lessons on my own without having this tie towards this other individual soul? Am I able to break that lease on my behalf? Because it's a contract. Again, you're able to break those things, and you can go to the spiritual court and talk about these things. And at the end of the day, it's what your heart desires. So if you're truly desiring to leave those things from a soul value and not a mind value, which the mind can definitely act like it's speaking from the soul, your mind can block your intuition just as it can create feelings that don't exist, all these things. So it's important to understand those things as well. So it's all dependent on like what your soul is needing to learn, and if it has learned those things, being sure that you can talk to the spiritual courts and doing those things. And the courts can definitely be complicated. They really can. I work with the spiritual courts a lot. Well, I used to. I don't do it as much anymore. I do sometimes, but it's very difficult. It can be super irritating and frustrating. You have to have good reasons for things. It's all based off of like what you've learned, your values, and your experience, and as well as the other person. It has to be like a clean thing. There can't be any like dirty ties on it. The only dirty tie that can be with the spiritual court was with like a disagreement between the two parties, and that's about it. But you can't be saying someone's doing something to you and then them not being doing it to you, because in that shame you still need to do a lesson from them, and then it's a whole jumble thing. You really have to make sure that what you're doing is for the right benefit for you, and not doing it because you are tired or annoyed of that individual, because that's still showing that a lesson, some growth needs to be made. Now, see, that's the thing. Like, you really can break these things. You can break soul ties. You can break soul contracts. You can do all this shit. But people don't say that you can't. I don't know why. Like, that's the thing. I've ran into so many people saying, "Oh, you're stuck with them forever." No, the fuck, you're not. Hell no. If time is up for them on the contract, then it's over. Like, it's contracts. It's the same thing. The same way contracts work in the spiritual is the same way it works on the physical. The same way the spiritual court system works in the spiritual, the same way it works on the physical. It is the same thing. The only difference is it's put together, not split apart. It's not that the U.S. is governed by the land of the sea and everyone else is operated by the law of the land. It's different, because in spiritual, they're connected. Are you matching both elements is all that matters. Yeah, that's the thing, because I like people like it's weird. No one talks about it, and I know there's like people who do readings for the spiritual court, but they don't talk about it either. It's like, how do you how do you expect to be someone who's a messenger of the spiritual court? This is my viewpoint, of course, obviously. But how can you see yourself to be a messenger of the spiritual courts if you're not going to teach people how to access it themselves? Because it's not this thing that you need to contact someone to do unless you feel the need to do that, right? You can do it yourself. It's the same thing as prayer. You don't need someone to pray for you. You can pray for yourself, right? It's these simple things that we have in life that we just forgot to do. It's lost arts. The lost arts doesn't mean it was lost for, for it being banned. It was forgotten. It was placed somewhere and it was never brought back out. It was hidden. It needs to be resurfaced, rediscovered. We need to be Indiana Jones up in this bitch and dusting stuff off instead of letting it collect more dust. But like, I've only worked with the spiritual court for maybe a year, by the way. I've just really got into it because the last situation that I had to leave out of involved me going with the courts. That's why I have this Michael pendant. Some of y'all might not know, but literally when I was in the courts, I had one of my friends tell me and help me know that Michael was one of the guardian angels over me who was watching me through this lifetime. And I was like, okay, thank you for that. So that's why I have the Michael pendant, because anytime I need help, I'll either go to Michael and be like, yo, can you go to the courts for me and talk about this? Can you be the messenger, relay back and forth? Because even in the spiritual court, you have lawyers and shit too. You have certain beings that are lawyers and stuff in your spiritual court. You have all sorts of stuff. You have the souls that have witnessed the event. Those are your jurymen and jurywomen. It's a whole thing. And it's kind of not seen that way, because again, it's like spiritualized, and people have a hard time getting it with the spiritual, which is why as above so below, that's one of the laws for a reason. Anything that happens up in the spiritual is gonna happen here, but it's gonna happen up there first. So if you can do it down here, you best believe that something up there is happening already. If you're already in a court battle in the physical, there's something happening up in the spiritual with that court battle as well. You just got to go ask, see what the hell's going on, and see if you can sway it in your way if you want it to or not. Simply as it's true, nothing on this world can be funded without something in the spiritual happening. If you're being attacked by someone magically on the physical, because there's something in the spiritual that's gone on, you got to go to the courts and figure the fuck that out. Sometimes people can falsify you up in the courts and get permission to do things to you, which was in my case that was going on. And I was like, so what's going on? They're like, oh, they said that you're not doing this and that because X, Y, Z. I said, no, it's not that because of these things there. But because I wasn't present, or I wasn't aware of how the courts worked or knew about those things, it was just me not showing up to certain court dates. I would get rings in my ear, I would get signs, but I didn't know what they meant. And it was just like, hey, you need to go up to the courts and defend yourself so that you can put your own 2 cents in, so that you're not just being persecuted 24/7 and being blamed for things that aren't even your fault. And it's like, well, let me go up there and see what's going on. It's literally, it's that whole thing like that. It really is. But people don't talk about it. That's why I offer spiritual court. Like, I do that. Spiritual court contact. It's on the order form. Before I was going live, actually, I was editing the list of services. I was making a second flyer for it so I could add the other services that I forgot to. So I'm just, Spirit's just really making sure I'm on the ball today. Like, hey, you gotta do this, you gotta do that still. So they're just telling me what I gotta do, like, last few seconds. But all this stuff is out there. You really just gotta go talk to Spirit about it. Like, really. Like, if you need something in the Spirit, you gotta go to it. You gotta get it first. You gotta get that funding from the divine. Now, see, that's the thing. That's the thing about it. It is fair. And it's fair simply because if you are one to claim that you are tapped in, if you are one to claim that you're highly spiritual, then you would know of these things, right? You would know of the spiritual court system. You would understand the law as above, as so below. And you might not know of a spiritual court, but you would know to be able to pray to your angels to say, protect me from any falsified documents, falsified contracts, falsified tongues that is spoken or written against my name without my permission being present. And then that would declassify, declassify, I guess is a term I could use for that, but it would cancel out what's going on. It is unfair to the degree of the individual on that self. I can definitely see where you're coming from that. But in the grand scheme of things, it's there to show you a more grander perspective. And that's the battle between, like, the flesh and spirit right there, is where the flesh thinks something's not fair and that it should just be taken care of in the spirit because they know that you don't know about it. But at the same time, if they know that you don't know about it, then they're already giving you signs and ideas and ways to walk down to show you of these things, but you just haven't been taking those paths. You see what I mean? There's laws that they have to follow. They can't just come to you and be like, hey, this is happening. You know what I mean? We have laws in the physical. The angels have their own laws that they follow under. The Galactic Council has their own laws that they follow under. Other planets have their own laws that they're governed by and that they have to follow. And they have to come all the way down from the top and trickle all the way down. It's a whole thing. I'm the sign. Well, I'm glad I'm the sign. Let me tell you something really good about the spiritual court, though. Once you start working with it, once you become aware of it and start, like, saying, hey, this isn't it, that's not it, battling against that court in the spirit, because they already know that of what's going on within the grand scheme of things, all you have to do is be present there. Listen to the other side of things if you're able to at that point, or just ask your angels to send you signs of what's going on, and you'll be moving on. Usually in the spiritual court system, especially with my encounters, I'll know a court case is over in the spirit realm if I see a dead animal. If I see like a dead lizard on the road, or like a dead bird or something, I know that something's like cut clean. I know that it's over. The court case is over. I'm going to be getting an answer about what's going on with stuff. But they'll always give you signs and stuff of that nature. Even if it's just your eyes catching a YouTube thumbnail that says something's over, don't brush that off and say it's not that. That's literally your sign. It caught your attention for a reason. You're only seeing it because it's something that needs to be answered within your energy. Signs are they are. I was just about to say that. Signs are everywhere. The divine always talks to you. It's up to you to listen to it, and to know how to listen to it, and to be aware of those things. It can be overwhelming for sure, but they're always giving you that benefit. They're always saying, hey, I'm here. I can always give you signs, and I'm always going to, but I need you to pay attention to them. I can't force you to do anything. They force you to do anything, it's invalidated. They know that they can't do it. And since they're more elevated, more in spirit than we are, they're not going to break those laws unless they have full permission to from higher order. And you can read about that even in the Bible, with how God commanded Michael, like, look, I know you ain't supposed to be doing this, but you go down there, like, get your brother set the fuck out, like, settle your brother out. Like, I can't deal with him, go you do it. You know what I mean? It's there. You just have to read the scripts. You have to read what's going on in that sense. And that's so funny that you mentioned possums, because again, that might not seem like a confirmation to anyone, but literally the roommate that I had, his favorite animal were possums. So that's just more of a confirmation for, everything. That's just how spirit works, by the way. Like that, I mean, thank you for being an example, Indigo. Even though you didn't know that you were gonna be one, right? Like, that's how it is. Like, they let you know, like, we know what you're talking about. We know what you're doing. We just want to make sure that you see that we see, and that we're doing things while you're doing things. You know what I mean? It works like that. It's a little weird at first to get used to, but hey, I mean, I'm just glad I got someone watching over me that knows what's going on and is handling stuff in the background while I can move on and do what I gotta do. But that's how it is. Once you tap into it and you start, using it, like using it again, like a water tap. You start using things as a water tap. It's your resource. You tap in to get that resource. What's that resource? Water, mother. Once you start doing that, you'll start getting feedback from it. I've heard of flat earthers. I've heard of the whole flat earth theory. I don't know. I haven't done research on it. I kind of stay away from it. Not because of anything in particular that I can think of off the top of my head. It's just not really a subject that interests me at this moment. I streamed like 2 hours early. But no, yeah, the flat earth theories are a real thing. Oh yeah, you can have multiple angels assigned to you. You can have, so what you'll have is you'll have your main angel, your protector, your guardian angel, and then you have your soul angel, and then you have your physical angel, right? And then you have other angels that can help you. Just because, let's say your archangel, your overruling angel is Michael, for instance, just to keep things simple, right? So Michael is your overruling angel. Every angel that Michael rules under, you can also call on by asking him to send you one of his helpers, right? It's the same thing as calling on Jesus in prayer and asking for Jesus to send his angels. Same thing in that regard, right? So you're assigned. You have three angels for your overarching, one for your soul, your spiritual, one for your physical. Things to get things moving in the soul realm, things to get moving in the physical. My three angels is Michael the overarching, Gabriel is for the soul, and I have Uriel for my physical. And I've had encounters with them before, and they are. It's a very interesting encounter to have interaction with all three of them at once. But I was literally I had an ego death moment. I was looking in the mirror, and I just something like clicked inside of me, and it was awful. I will say it was awful because I didn't know what was going on, but it definitely snapped my life into place because I was looking around the room I was in, and the first question that came to my mind was, "Do you like living here? Is this what you want to live in? Is this what you like?" And I said no, and they said, "Well, you need to fix this shit then." And because they'll talk to you the way that you talk to yourself, right? Because they're just inhabiting your vessel, using their energy to funnel through you. And then literally about 8 months after that incident, I started reading tarot. So they'll you have multiple angels. You have helper angel. You have all sorts of other angels as well. You have an angel that's assigned to you by your birthday, like the actual day that you were born, as well. You have your numerology angel if you want to go that deep with it as well. But you are assigned different angels based off of who you are, and you can find all this stuff out like online, or you can go to someone who's extremely tapped into the angelic realm to help you with that as well. And also, yeah, as well, angels can also pop into other people's vessels as well, and help you and assist you on the physical. That's why a lot of people have like a turn of grace type of moment. It's because an angel really goes in and like possesses them. Because possession isn't a bad thing. Possession just means ownership of. And if an angel comes in and possesses someone's body, they just have ownership over that body for a limited time. Same thing for a demon, right? So they can do the same thing. They can fight in the same way. It's just very it's two different playing fields on those two sides. Because where an angel will leave when it's time, a demon won't, because a demon can just choose not to fucking listen. Because they don't have a reason not to. You know, the angels know that they're being overruled by a constant source of energy that's going to keep filling them back up. So it's best to always listen and follow through what Mother is saying so that Father doesn't get upset. But it's interesting. We live in a very fun world. Just like call on your angels if you need anything. Like truly. And then you have like damn, like your saints and stuff. You can call on your saints the same way you call on your angels. You also have saints. A lot of people have Saint Expedite as a helper in their life. But you can call on the saints like Saint Germain, Saint Expedite. I forgot who else. Michael's technically a saint as well. Saint Michael. But there's a lot of them that you can call on, and those are just like your day-to-day helpers. If you're needing something done quickly, like a service done or something given to you, you can call on them to help you. They usually require offerings sometimes, depending on your work that you're doing with them and stuff, but they can sometimes require offerings. That's why you see people leave, like if you see people leaving out bread and water, that's for Saint Expedite. I know that for 1000% sure, because everyone who messes with hoodoo knows exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to Saint Expedite and his motherfucking bread and cake. If you do not give him any sort of bread or cake, he's not doing a damn thing for you. I don't care what you do. He loves his bread and cake. I don't blame him. Yeah, see, that's the thing. A lot of times it seems fake, but it's just being in the presence of that energy. It brings you back home, and you become so attached to the physical that like the external realm is, you know, external meaning not physical but spiritual. Whenever I point up to the left, I'm talking about spiritual, by the way. But yeah, what's hoodoo? Hoodoo is African magic practice. The same thing as voodoo. Voodoo and hoodoo are the same thing. They're just different types of African spirituality. Some hoodoo is a closed practice. I will say that. So if you are not like uh rooted with any sort of hoodoo, I'd be careful. But some of the stuff in hoodoo is open. Some people would disagree with me though. Some people would, and that's completely fine. I'm not like a bona fide hoodoo practitioner. I just know what I know from my guides telling me what to do and stuff. You know what I mean? So definitely, if you want to learn hoodoo, go to someone that like is in it, because there's a whole like religious spiritual thing that you do with hoodoo. It's not just what you think it is. Same thing with voodoo. It's not like all this evil stuff that people think. There's all process that goes behind it. So just being aware of that. And again, like some people are very strict with it by saying it's a closed practice. So just, you know, respecting the practice. If you're having a mentor guide you through it, respect their way of seeing things for sure. Well, if there's no other questions, I'm probably gonna end it here. And then if I'm awake at odd hours, I'll probably do another stream. What ritual do I do before connecting to readings? Uh, well, where is my bell? Where'd my bell go? I have a little bell. I ring a little bell. The reason why I ring a bell is because ringing bells is a very spiritual thing. It attracts spirits. It attracts heavenly presences to you. It's a protection thing as well. It's a grounding thing as well. So I'll ring a bell. I'll let it ring all the way out. Um, and then I'll set the intention, and the intention would be to answer whatever question the querent has, and then I'd go into it. Doing that. No problem. I love giving insight with people. Hope you have a good one, and thank you for stopping by as well. What about spiritual warfare? What about spiritual warfare? What about spiritual warfare are you wondering about? Because spiritual warfare is internal is all internal. Spiritual warfare comes from the inside. It comes from understanding that people have opposing views, opposing energies inside of them that are trying to prevent you from moving forward. Not that they're trying to steal anything from you, but they don't want you to complete a soul mission, because this is a battle of spirit, not of flesh and blood, but it's what is it? Is it saints and virtues? I can't remember the exact saying, but it is the spiritual warfare is overcoming the physical and spiritualizing things, and understanding that it's the internal that you're fighting. So whenever someone's talking about spiritual warfare, if especially like with readings and stuff, they'll be talking about someone else doing this and that and the other, and this is what that person's doing to you, and you're protecting and all this stuff. But the spiritual warfare aspect of it is that spirit of fear, that spirit of lack of motivation, that spirit of anger or sadness that's coming over you. To overcome that doesn't mean that you beat it, doesn't mean you throw it in the trash can. You overcome it, you jump over it, you feel it. You have to internalize it and understand what it's there to show you, what it's there to teach you, so you can overcome those boundaries, right? Don't let the outside stop you from doing what your soul's supposed to do, because at the end of the day, that spiritual warfare comes from seeing things from the spiritual and focusing on the external too much. That's the spiritual warfare that we're in. It's not about using magic. The battle of the mages is different than a battle between the spirits. A battle between the mages is all about how mentally strong you are, how much intention, how much focus can you put into something, versus how much can you internalize things and overcome them internally so they don't overcome you externally. Well, that's the spiritual warfare stuff. Let me tell you about that. But That's just the importance of it, because again, like, most gurus and spiritual teachers won't tell you this stuff, and it's because they don't even know. They've heard it from someone else that didn't know. They heard it from someone else they didn't know. They heard it from someone else who did drugs and seen something and got like partial of the message, but they didn't get the full thing because they weren't pure, so they weren't able to get the full pure message, and they told it to someone else who also was on drugs, and then they went to fucking Cambodia and did some other shit, and then they heard that from someone else who told them to go to XYZ and get like toad poisoning to do drugs and stuff. And it's, you know, that's all that's cool. That's a cool journey in the spirit and physical and making things physical, but when it comes down to spirit, you got to go inside yourself. If you know, you can do those things to go deep inside of yourself, but I don't need those things. There's plenty of other people that don't need the external drug to do those things. You know, you might need it to loosen yourself up, to get yourself, you know, used to the water, but after time, the true spiritual evolution of self needs no dependent on the physical, and just knowing that I can just close my eyes, deep breathe, take 3 deep breaths. I've got it down to where in 15 minutes I can go on like a whole shroom trip. But it's like, it's, you just deep breathe, you put intention in your breath, and that breath will create the life around you. As you intake and out and breathe out, you intake the new and breathe out the things that are keeping you from doing there. You make a little converter chamber in your mind and put all sorts of thoughts that are trying to distract you in there so they can be locked up and blocked so you can do what you need to do. Setting these boundaries up intentionally for yourself, mentally, internally, so that you can go deep inside of yourself and see what you've been hiding from yourself. And you're not hiding it from yourself to be mean. You're hiding it from yourself because you're not ready to see it yet. You're not ready to actualize it yet. And there's things that you need to do in life to get to those points so that you can see the overarching image. Can I talk more about it? The power of the mind, or spiritual warfare? Because I can definitely make a live tomorrow about that. If, you know, things go to according to plan, I can, and they should. So I can definitely make a live about that as well. I can do both because really at the end of the day, they're adjacent. They're not the same, but they're adjacent for sure. But I can definitely do a live for one of those. Because it's awful seeing a lot of people get lost and confused, and as well, do you have pets? No, I don't have pets. It would not first I would want a cat, but I don't have a place to go. I'm hotel hopping, and it would not be good for me nor the animal to have one right now, so it's not responsible for me to have one. What time will I be on? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't have a schedule. I don't, whenever I feel called to go live, I go live. Like, I set an alarm. It's 8:14 now. I set an alarm to go off at 8 o'clock p.m. for me to go live, and I went live like hours earlier. Like, it's really just what's going through me at that point in time. But yeah, I do want a cat though at some point. I want a hairless cat, but those I'm just, you know, the vet bills I've heard of those are crazy. I was a little bit lucky today. You might catch the other one, and if not, I keep them up. You know, I don't delete the live, so you get posted regardless, so you can go back and watch it too. But regardless, if any other questions need to be asked, let them be asked now, because if they're not, I'm a bounce off and do some things. But yeah, that, you know what, it's so funny because we had the craziest live earlier, and then everything is just calm right now. So I guess I don't know what that happened earlier, but for the ones that were here that seen that, no, that was crazy. So this is definitely a relaxing stream to have the night on, have the shadow hour on. Regardless, thank you all so much for being here. If you're needing my email, donation links, or links to my services or whatever, everything's in the description of this live. everything's in the pinned message, basically, or in the description or in bio of my channel. It's always going to be in the description of the bio of something. You'll be able to find it for sure. If you can't, just email me and I can send you the stuff as well. Regardless, though, I love each and every one of y'all to the moon and back, tenfold and forever, and I will see y'all later.